On today's episode of This Old Tackle Box, we take on the task of restoring an unusual 1970s crankbait with, get this, a vertical lip. I'll take you through the entire restoration of this unique lure where we turn this crankbait from a raggedy, forgotten lure to a clean, lip-ripping machine. Sorta. Stick around to the end of the video to learn more about how this lure could end up in your tackle box. Alright, what's up guys? Tim here. I have in front of us a Hedon Sidewinder, Hedon Sidewinder. It's a very, very unique bait where the pattern and the design is still kind of flat like you would expect a crankbait basically to be, but the bill and the scoop are on the side. So it actually floats and swims like this with the hooks underneath. And I think what it's meant to look like is kind of like a dead fish flopping through the water. So this is something very unique that I haven't really seen too much of. However, if you can kind of see, the paint is all cracked. There's some holes towards the bottom. If it will focus, please. Thank you. So in general, it just needs a lot of work. The very first thing we're going to do is actually pull the bill off. There's two little screws right here, and then we'll see what it looks like underneath it. Alright, so we have our two screws pulled out. I'm not actually very sure about how these hooks are in there. It seems almost as if they were soldered. It definitely looks like they were soldered. So what I'm going to end up doing is cutting the hooks off. Alright, so I have all the pieces that we will be reusing again in this little cup. All the other hook eye leads, they actually just came out pretty easy. They were screwed out, or they were screwed in. So I think what we're gonna do when we reinstall them is probably glue them, put some like Gorilla Glue or something on them. But the next step is to actually go ahead and start sanding down this lure. And to do so, I just have 220 grit that we are going to apply. This should work just fine. I'll let you know how that goes though. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have our naked lure. Now, we still aren't quite at the point where we can paint it yet. Mostly because if you kind of look at the tail, where that eyelet screws into the back is pretty mangled up. It looks like it took some beatings at some point. Not to mention along the right side of the bait. It might be difficult to see on screen, but there is some cracking propagating from where the side hook eyelet goes out towards the forward of the bait and a little bit towards the back end of the bait. So in order to fix those, I got some plastic wood, but we're going to basically just fill the wood, the gaps in the wood, and then we're going to take some more 220 and then sand it down, and we should be at that point ready to paint. I don't know if you can tell, but the cracks are definitely filled. This back end of the bait is going to look kind of jank until I can get in there and resand it. But once it dries, which should be in like 15-20 minutes, then I'll bring you guys back and show you what it looks like. So we have the wood filler put in, basically filled these cracks along the edge. Maybe if you can see them. They're definitely less noticeable now, as well as the end of the bait is actually square. You can see it. So it did exactly what I needed it to do, which is awesome. Next thing, after that, I basically just did a 70% isopropyl quick wipe down to get any of the dust and crap that we had left on there, get that off. So we are ready to paint. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're probably going to have to put a couple hefty coats of white down, so we're going to get into that. So we have our bait painted white. It took 3 coats to kind of make sure that not too much of the wood grains were showing through, but I think we have a solid base coat. The next step, we're going to tape off the front of the lure, so that way we can paint the back end in this pearlized black. I don't really have a great yellow to match what the front of it was before, so for that, we're actually going to be using a pearlized gold. Before we do that, we need to tape up, paint it black. Let's do it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is actually a couple days later. Again, life gets kind of busy, and I got busy. So, next step, we're basically almost there in terms of paint and that kind of stuff. So what we are going to do, I have pearlized orange, and I have like dot tool things. It's just a little wooden dowel with a little soft piece of like felt on the end of it. And all we're gonna do is basically take this, dip it in like orange paint, and then I'm just gonna do a very hard press dot with the pearlized orange. And then after that, to finish the pupil and the little gill markings, I'm going to take just normal Createx bright red and a paintbrush, and then I'm just gonna very lightly kind of trace over the gill plate. Let's get some orange paint down. So we have completed the paint portion of this bait. The only thing left is to clear coat it. Now conventionally I would attach my logo to the bottom of the bait using basically just vinyl, like a vinyl print. And what I would do is attach it to the bait, spray it with diamond clear coat, and then also dip it in a UV resin. But for this lure, since it's so old, and I think it's really cool that it's wooden and you can kind of see the wood grains through the paint, all I'm going to do is this diamond clear finish. We're going to put our bait up on the stand and we're going to spray it. So over the next couple hours, I will come out here and slowly just build up 3 layers in total. You can't really spray this stuff too heavy or else it starts to drip pretty bad. You can kind of see the shine that we have going on there, and it might be hard to tell on camera, but you can still see the wood grain, which I think is awesome. Again, that UV resin would actually fill in those imperfections and create a super smooth bait, which is not what I want. So I think it looks awesome. While this is done, or while this is curing, I should say, I actually have to go get size 2 hooks because that's what was on this originally, and then we can reinstall all the hardware and finish this bait up. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost complete with this lure. There are just a few more little touch-up things before, we go back and actually reinstall all of our hardware. One of them is the side eyelet. I don't know if I can get it to focus, but it is very bent. So what I'm going to do is try to flatten it with some pliers. Alright, we now fixed the bottom eyelet. This little piece that fits into the side of the lure is also not perfectly round. I don't know if I'm going to get that to focus either. So again, just going to go at it with some needle nose pliers, try to straighten it out a little bit. We are now ready to start reinstalling all of the hardware. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put this little, what I think is a brush guard, back on. Just like so. Our little guard is now back on. Now, all we need to do is screw this back in. So our front eye is installed. Alright, we just brush it on. Do a little twirl. Put this in through here. And then we just start screwing her in. Yeah, I've never worked with wooden lures before. Sorry, can't really see what I'm doing. But we have it partial in. All I have to do really is just screw this back down. Hopefully this piece fits nice, plays nice, which it already is giving me some trouble. Well, things that are old should not be handled like they're new. It is very bent.
It is very bent. It is very bent.
And considering this is the oldest lure I have ever worked with, I can definitely say that I've learned my lesson the hard way. That is the eyelet that I was currently working on, and we'll see if it can focus that close. I don't know if you can tell, but it is supposed to be attached right in here. which you can see the bottom is. The bottom made its way in, and when I stopped because I was like, I want one more good turn on it to get it even, because my idea was setting up the eyelets all in parallel, like with this first one, or sorry, I don't know if you would say parallel, but all in a line, right? So that way the line and the two hooks would swivel the correct way, and I snapped it. At this point, I think I just keep going, and we kind of just call an audible and go with a single hook on the bottom. This just really stinks because this was a product I was going to try to actually sell on my website, but that isn't going to happen now. This lure will not work as designed, unfortunately. So instead, just like with my other lure videos, I think I'm just gonna put it up for a giveaway. It'll be the same thing where you fill out a Google form. The form will be linked in the description. Yeah, not the way I thought today was gonna go. Not the way that I thought this lure was gonna go. But now it makes sense as to why that head was bent before. Alright, I'm going to get the rest of this together and show you the final product. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you screw away the restoration of a 50-year-old fishing lure. I think it came out great still. It really sucks. Alright, the last step here, guys, is to reinstall the hook. I have a split ring right here, and then I have the identical type of hook that was on the lure before. I had a really awesome joke lined up for this because these are called O'Shaughnessy hooks. They're based on the shape of the actual hook itself. It's what was on there before, and I had a joke, but I don't really feel like doing that considering I just screwed away this lure. I changed my mind.
Who? Oh, Shaq Hennessy!
So, these are the hooks. They are not eagle claw. I try to use basically any American-made product I can. However, I went to 3 tackle shops and a Dick's House of Sports, and the only thing I could find were these VMC hooks, which are made in France. Take that as you will. I've kind of surrendered on this lure, so it kind of just feels right. But nonetheless, let's get this hook installed. Ladies and gentlemen, it's over. We have pseudo restored this $50, what I'm calling a sidewinder lure. The front tie for your line is intact, your back hook is intact, and unfortunately the middle is just a lost cause. If I can get it on screen there. This whole lure, honestly, was a huge pain to put back together. The easiest part was taking it apart and sanding it and painting it. I definitely misjudged how difficult it was going to be to get it back together, and I definitely should have been more careful. If I'm smart, I fast forwarded or skipped the part where I was actually installing the D-ring into the hook and the hook onto the lure. I successfully hooked my ring finger and index finger no less than 6 times, which was also not fun. I've never used this size of hook before. I've never, had to get them on eyelets that are so large. But at the end of the day, I think I definitely learned a lesson or two. And I'm glad I did this project. This is definitely the oldest lure I've worked on, but I actually, from the same person, got 6 more lures that are about 30 to 50 years old. So this will be the first video in a series I'm calling This Old Tackle Box, where I restore old fishing lures. It's what got me into this hobby to begin with, and me branching out to old lures and older technologies it's fun, and I'm glad I'm learning something. So, like I said before, this lure was going to be put up for sale on my website. However, with it not being a functioning lure anymore, that I don't think it's going to be that great of a lure to fish with, I'm going to give it away. The link to the Google Doc will be in the description. All you have to do is click on it, fill it in. I think it's just your name and your email, so that way, you know, it gives me an opportunity to reach out to you. But yeah, let me know if you guys want to see anything different. Maybe next time we restore a lure, I try a newer, completely different pattern, or I do something crazy with it. Let me know in the comments what you think. And as always, have the best day that you can.